All right, good evening and welcome to the Thursday, August 12th, 2021 regular meeting of the Xenia City Council. At this time, we will have an invocation led by Mr. Josh Cernetic
Yep.
from the Living Well Clinic, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilman Thomas Scribbins. If you could please rise.
Good evening, everyone. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this day. Thank you for all the blessings and provisions you've given us this day. And Lord, if it's been a rough day for someone here, pray that you help them be prepared for the meeting tonight. Help everyone be prepared. Lord, just pray that you would bring peace in the room tonight, and that there would be unity and good discussion if there's not. And Father, it's such a struggle to be in a position of leadership. And the council members, all of them have great burdens on their shoulders. Pray that you would guide and direct them in their thought, their endeavors, and just in the meeting tonight. Lord, we know you're doing great work in the city of Xenia through many different ways. And Lord, we thank you for the blessings on the city. And just pray that you would be with this meeting tonight as these members help guide and direct the leadership of the city. Just pray for these things in your name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Cernetic and Councilman Scribbins. At this time, I'll call the meeting to order and ask for a roll call, please.
Vice President Dean? Here. Councilman Scribbins?
Here.
Councilwoman Dean? Councilman Branham?
Here.
Councilman Urschel?
Here.
Mayor Mays?
Here.
President Smith?
Here. I would like to make a motion to excuse Councilwoman Dean. She contacted me today regarding a work circumstance, so this time I'll move to excuse her and ask for a second.
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Urschel. Any discussion? Can I get a roll call on excusal?
Vice President Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Scribbins?
Aye.
Councilman Branham?
Aye.
Councilman Urschel?
Aye.
Mayor Mays?
Aye.
President Smith?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you very much. Next on our agenda is the approval of minutes from the July 22nd, 2021 regular meeting. I will make a motion at this time and ask for a motion to approve the minutes, please.
So moved.
Moved by the Vice President. Do I have a second?
I second that.
Seconded by, Councilman Branham?
Yep.
Thank you. Any discussion or corrections on the minutes before us? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Vice President Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Scribbins?
Aye.
Councilman Branham?
Aye.
Councilman Urschel?
As I was not at the meeting, I'm going to pass on this.
Mayor Mays?
Aye.
President Smith?
Aye.
And just for clarification, in passing, you mean abstain?
I'll abstain.
Okay.
Correct. Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you very much. There is no special presentation scheduled for tonight. Next in our agenda is opportunity for audience comments. This time, public may come to the podium, give us your name, address for the city clerk. Limit your comments 3 to 4 minutes, please.
Hello, my name is Keith Morse. I live at 367 Hollywood Boulevard here in Xenia. And I have a couple of things. I've not been to a city meeting in a while because of the work, I have to work and stuff. So anyway, I got a problem with my driveway, first of all. I took pictures from my home up to Purcell Drive, okay? And I measured it actually with a measuring tape myself. Mine is about 1.5 feet off of my driveway. I have pictures here of everybody's water meter from my house to Purcell. There's not a driveway one that is damaged. My driveway is sunk almost 5 inches and is actually cracked. When I bought my house, it had the crack in it. I filled up my yard to make it level when the neighbor down the street did some repair because the city said he could not put his trailer on the grass, so he put gravel in. He brought me a load of dirt down. I leveled my ground. I got a hold of the city of the city of Xenia. They come out and put me a 3-inch riser on top of my water thing to make it level with my driveway. I got pictures now, it's sunk 5 inches again, and my driveway's sitting down about that far. I actually had a lady trip over it at a garage sale. I'm lucky she didn't sue me. So with that being said, I've had 2 different cement guys come out and look at it for me. Both of them have said, sure thing, we can put your driveway in, but we're not going to guarantee it. I said, what do you mean you're not going to guarantee it? He said, because your water meter is too close to your driveway, number 1, and number 2, it's going to crack again. He said that ground is sinking, and I'm sorry, I thought I shut my phone off. I'm sorry. I hit the wrong button. I'm sorry. But anyway, where was I at now?
It was sinking.
Okay, my yard is actually sinking. And like I said, I got pictures showing all this. I can leave them here with you guys to look at. When I talked to the city's email, like I said, to come out and put a 3-inch riser to make it level, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. One guy, I mentioned it to one guy, he said, put 8 inches in. I'm like, why should I put 8 inches in my driveway and waste the money if it's only codes 4 inches? You know, I just feel something's wrong with my water meter. It's been that way since I bought my property, and it keeps sinking. So I think something needs to be done about it, you know. I don't think it's fair if I should pay for it and it's going to turn around and crack again. You know, if any of you guys can sign a paper stating if it cracks again, you guys are going to pay for it, and then I'll fix it. I mean, you see what I'm saying? I don't know what to do at this point, other than, you know, have a screwed up driveway, you know. The second thing I got to talk about is the roads out front of my house. I've called numerous times with potholes. It takes them forever to fix the potholes. I'm a little bit aggravated with it. When snowplow time comes, they come down, they said there's a certain route that they do with snowplows. And I'm sure all you guys know Hollywood Boulevard is, you know, like a main drag through that neighborhood. But I don't understand why they come up my street, turn right on El Camino, and go all the way down to Capistrano. El Camino is not near the street that mine is. But the reason why they go down that way is because somebody that used to live there works in the city building. I found that out through the grapevine. I don't think that's fair. I think if it's going to do it, they could come another 100 feet and do our street. You know, right to the end of Hollywood, turn around, come right back up. You know, that's my personal opinion. I got another question. I was notified last night with some paperwork about the Fillmore Heights estate that's going to go in out past our house. Do you guys know anything about that? You do? Okay. First of all, myself and all of my neighbors, none of us has been notified that they want to take Fairgrounds Road clear to, Hollywood Road clear to Fairgrounds Road. That's the reason why I bought my house, because there wasn't no traffic. You know, it's a nice place to live, nice community. I went today for a meeting at the county for the new bike hub bike path they want to put in there to come off of Durham. And just like I told them, I said, you know, have any of you guys been on the bike paths? No. I said, well, you might want to get on some of them. I'm not down on the bike paths whatsoever. But if you've ever been on any of our bike paths, they're trash. There's so much debris. There's shopping carts from the Goodwill. There's shopping carts from the dollar store. There's clothes that people store up there at the Goodwill. They store it all down through there. No one cleans it up. You know, if you want to put more bike paths in, which is fine, why can't we keep the ones that we have clean so that it doesn't devalue my property? You know, and when this gets closer to the development or whatever, I'm sure I'm going to want to come back because I have some other problems with the houses that they want to build. You know, they're wanting to build 1,400 square foot houses back there, and that's going to devalue our price of houses that we've already owned. You know, if they can make them 18 to 2,000 square foot, then that's going to actually help our neighborhood and not hinder it. But, you know, I know I'm only one person voicing my opinion because no one else is up here, but I think everyone needs to know about this either by mail or something, you know, because I was never notified of anything. And then I get this by a neighbor down the street, oh yeah, they're gonna build all kind of houses and stuff. So I mean, I've been here in Xenia for a long time, and I just feel we should be notified by mail. They said, well, it's been posted. I work 12, 14 hours a day sometimes. I don't have time to come up here to the city building and look what's posted. I deal with mail usually, So, but that's all I have to say. I just wanted you guys to know.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. John Kelp, 936 Oval Way. I have a couple things to discuss tonight. One of them being the development off of Hollywood. Keith actually called me this morning, and then somebody else called me about it. And back when I was on council, 2008 to 2016, council addressed minimum square footage of houses because we were allowing smaller houses into our community that weren't accomplishing what we wanted to accomplish. We need more dual-income families in this community. We need higher-income families in this community. We need families that want to have their kids go to our schools in this community, and our minimum square footage requirement was not supporting the schools. So if these houses are going to be 1,400 square foot, 1,600 square foot, that doesn't support our schools. Dr. Lofton and I spoke today. When I was on council, I believe we moved the minimum square footage to 1,500 square foot, I think. We'd have to probably research that to check it. But that was probably in 2010 that we addressed that, and this is 2021. According to Dr. Lofton, the minimum square footage now to support the schools with property taxes is 1,800 square foot. In my opinion, if that's the case, we should not allow any new development of anything under 1,800 square foot. Because if we do, we're just shooting our schools in the foot once again. We are not supporting our community. We have to have smart planning, smart growth, and we don't need Section 8. We don't need low-income housing. We don't need subsidized housing. We don't need 1,000 square foot houses. That's not what we need to increase the tax base of this community. So I hope you look long and hard before that project is ever approved to make sure that it's a minimum of 1,800 square foot. Because if it's not, you might as well just tell the schools, you know what, we just screwed you. Because that's what's going to happen. The other comment has to do with the charter review work session that you're going to have. The law director mentioned at the last meeting that it was illegal to have residency requirements in Ohio. Everybody knows that the Supreme Court ruled on residency. It was a topic when I was on council with firemen and police officers because we had residency at the time and residency went away. We have 3 positions in this city that work. They are not hourly employees. They work under a contract. Law director, finance director, city manager. All 3 have a separate work contract with this council, with 7 people. Those 3 individuals work for you 7 individuals. Now, she will tell you residency is illegal. It's not illegal. Not when you have a work contract. We could put into that contract, you know what, Mr. City Manager, you're going to drive a blue car. And if he signs that employment agreement with the city council, he's going to drive a blue car or he's going to be in breach of contract. So you could put into the charter, city manager, finance director, law director, are to live within the city of Xenia per their employment contract. There's nothing that says that, yes, residency for an hourly employee is illegal, but they're not hourly employees. They have contracts with you. Our finance director doesn't live in the city any longer. He's probably in breach of his own contract right now.
I guess I'll pull the contract and find out if it's in his contract. I know it's in the, well, it was in the city manager's contract when I was on council, that you had to live in the city of Xenia. I know when Donnette was hired, I believe she made the comment that when her lease was up, she had intentions of moving to the city of Xenia. I don't believe she lives in the city of Xenia now. There's 3 appointed officials that all make over $100,000 in this city. You know, some of them pushing 140, 145,000. And if they are not willing to invest in this community, be an ambassador for this city, live in this city, then why are we hiring them? You 7 have the control to put it in their employment contract that they must live in the city of Xenia to hold their job. So when you think about your charter changes, I hope you consider that, and I hope you say, you know what, can we put it in there that it must be in their employment contract? Because they all work under a contract. Once they sign that contract, they are agreeing to the buyout, they are agreeing to their rate, they're agreeing to the terms of that contract, and they're putting their signature on the line. But only you 7 can hold them accountable. And I'm just curious now whether or not we're even holding the 3 accountable to their current contracts. But I would hope in any charter review, if we're trying to change to where our city manager that makes almost $150,000 a year doesn't have to live in this community, there's a good chance he's going to, him and his wife, you know, probably say, well, you know what, let's go to Beaver Creek. They have A+ rated schools. We'll live in Beaver Creek. You know, I'll work in Xenia, but I'll live in Beaver Creek. Because as soon as we got rid of residency, firemen, policemen, they all bailed. They all bailed. Very few of them live in this community today. But there's nothing we can do about that. They're hourly employees. But those 3, you absolutely can hold accountable to where they live through their contract. Thank you.
Dale Waterback, 1272 Eagles Way in Xenia, and I'm going to piggyback on Executive Chairman Calv's comments. It's been my position for a long time that the 3 appointed people should live in the city. Law director, to my knowledge, does not live in the city. You know, when I was on council, we interviewed her. She said she has plans to move to the city of Xenia because I talked to her about that. Ryan Duke, if I'm wrong, you live in the township. Only one city manager lives in the city. Like John said, how can you be an ambassador for the city of Xenia? Even our city planner, even our engineer, you go down the line, how can you be an ambassador for our community if you don't live in the city? If you're meeting with a CEO from Procter & Gamble or some company that's going to bring jobs to the area, you're going to give them the dog and pony show. You're going to go back and have a cup of coffee, and the CEO is going to look at you and say, Mr. Finance Director, you live in the city? He's going to say, no. CEO said, why not? What's wrong with the city of Xenia? Is it housing? Is it schools? I mean, I can't comprehend why you would not want to. I don't care about the laws and the contracts. They should read you live in the city. But I just cannot fathom why you would not want to live in the city you represent. All council has to live in, I mean, nobody up here lives in Beaver Creek. You represent the city of Xenia, and you should live in the city of Xenia. So, and that's all I'm going to say about that. Mr. Morris, I had a conversation with him today. I think most of you know I'm a realtor. I talked to the city planner. Ryan Holmes, like him or not, is going to develop that land out there, 1,400 to 1,600 square foot homes. That neighborhood has $300,000 to $350,000 homes. What do you think a 1,400 square foot home is going to do to the property value of that place? it's going to drive it down. I'm a realtor, I've got the experience. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. Ryan Holmes, in my opinion, does not have the best reputation of a builder. That's my personal opinion because I'm in the business. So I concur with Mr. Morris. I hope you don't agree to 1,400 square foot house. And last time I was here, I spoke about the possibility of the city clerk assisting the Board of Elections in elections. Why in the world would that even be under discussion? The city clerk works for you guys. I hope you all understand that. These three people work for you guys. You're their bosses. Why would you want the city clerk, regardless of who the city clerk is, be responsible for validating your petitions, unless there was some conflict of interest, which I think there would definitely be a conflict of interest. So anyway, I've got a few more things to say about the charter, but I'll probably be back next week to talk about them. Thank you.
Anyone else care to come to the podium? All right, thank you very much. All right, our first item after audience comments is old business. Item 1 is Resolution 2021-letter EE. This is the second reading. This is authorizing the execution of an agency agreement with Xenia Community Improvement Corporation. This was introduced by the mayor on July 8th of 2021.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to move for passage.
Move for passage. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Urschel. Any discussion regarding this second reading? All right. Roll call, please.
Vice President Dean. Aye. Councilman Scruggs.
Aye.
Councilman Brown.
Aye.
Councilman Urschel.
Aye.
Mayor Nays.
Aye.
President Smith.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you very much. We have no public hearing scheduled for tonight. So our next item is new business resolution 2021, letter FF, declared an emergency. This is accepting the material terms of the One Ohio subdivision settlement pursuant to the One Ohio Memorandum of Understanding and consistent with terms of the July 22nd, 21 National Opioid Settlement Agreement and declare an emergency. At this time, I'll turn this over to our law director. Thank you.
We had discussed this briefly at the last meeting. We had heard that there was a potential settlement. We didn't have any of the paperwork yet. This came just last week. Basically, the Ohio Attorney General and the state have reached a proposed settlement with 3 distributors, Amerisource, Bergen, Cardinal Health, and McKenzie. Under that agreement, those 3 would pay an estimated $804 million to the state and its subdivisions over the next 18 years. That money would get divided up. 15% would go directly to the state, 30% directly to Ohio subdivisions. That includes townships, counties, municipalities. And then the remaining 55 would be paid to this new entity that's being created called One Ohio Foundation. Under the One Ohio plan that they've outlined, the state basically gets divided into 19 different regions. Each of those regions gets money. Every entity in that region gets to set up their own board of governance, and that money gets spent by that board in the different jurisdictions that lie within that region. Xenia would be in Region 14. That includes 7 counties: Butler, Clark, Claremont, Clinton, Greene, Madison, and Warren would be the 7 counties in our region. I can't tell you the exact amount that we would get under this settlement. The reason why is it's going to depend on participation rate, how many jurisdictions actually participate. At a minimum, we would get a direct payment of $178,849.16. Maximum, if they reach 100% participation, we'd get $255,498.80. Now, they did put in the agreement that that money is restricted for use in opioid intervention, any kind of education, recovery services. It can be used for past costs if council passes a resolution to that effect. But we couldn't, unfortunately, we couldn't use it for streets, we couldn't use it for other type of projects. It would be specific to those things. We are presenting this as an emergency this evening because the deadline for filing our participation is tomorrow. So if council approves this tonight, I will go back to the office and get it emailed in. Most jurisdictions that I am aware of are participating. We think the state attorney general did negotiate a good deal, and it's a deal that would allow us to get money quickly to help offset some of the costs that we've seen over the years dealing with the opioid crisis. And I did provide the executive summary that came. I think that answered a lot of the questions. I also gave you a sample of the participation form, and I'd be happy to answer any questions I could.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the law director? Any comments? Councilman Scrivens?
Although we're getting a goodly sum, it just still seems like it's a lawyer's holiday. I see they getting 25% of the settlement. So, I mean, I'm not
Well,
against
they
lawyers
are
getting
taking out
paid.
a settlement. Of course, attorney fees are getting paid out of that. None of the local jurisdiction attorney fees, of course. But I think the state gets a cut of that for their attorney fees, and then the private attorney, the firms that have been involved, will get paid.
Thank you, Councilman Scrivens. Any other comments for the law director? See none, do I have a motion to accept the settlement pursuant to the memorandum as an emergency?
So moved.
Moved as an emergency by Councilman Scrivens. Do we have a second? I'll second that. Any other discussion? This time I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Vice President Bloom. Aye. Councilman Scrivens.
Aye.
Councilman Branham.
Aye.
Councilman Urschel.
Aye.
Mayor Mays.
Aye.
President Smith.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Our next item is an administration motion awarding the bid and authorizing a contract with National Water Services LLC for wells number 1 and number 9 in the redevelopment project. Mr. Holloway, could you explain that, please?
Yep, thank you, Mr. President. As council's aware, the Water Treatment Division regularly redevelops wells to keep the water capacity up and look for any areas of concern, corrosion, whatnot. So the Water Division is seeking to clean and redevelop production wells 1 and 9 this year. In addition to bidding the proposals to clean and redevelop the 2 wells, they also bid out an alternate proposal that would so the contractors would submit pricing for pumps and parts and repairs as needed. So the redevelopment of wells 1 and 9 and the alternate that they bid out. The lowest bid was produced by National Water Services, LLC, in amount not to exceed $76,684 for both wells and the alternate pump equipment as needed. National Water Services successfully completed the redevelopment of wells 3 and 8 for us last year, and staff is confident in their ability to complete this project on time and within budget. So staff is respectfully requesting council award the bid and authorize the city manager to execute a contract with National Water Services LLC for a not to exceed amount price of $76,684.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the city manager tonight?
I do have one question. So it might be for Chris Berger, to be honest with you. This alternate, how does this work if, how long is that pricing good for? Is it good for the next year? Or, because like what happens if well 9 never fails, that pump, that kind of thing, is that good for how long? I know they're anticipating most likely they're probably the oldest ones, that kind of thing, but.
Well, obviously, yeah, that's going to be a contingent, it's a contingency item. Once they get everything removed out of the well and they determine, that that's in bad shape, by the time, if at that time they determine, well, the pump and motor is still decent right there, they're going to put them back in. But, we're going to hold on to, we have a performance bond, and then obviously it would kick into a maintenance bond. So until we would close the contract out, I would assume it shouldn't be an issue to get those replaced because we haven't closed the project out and the money's budgeted for that replacement if we need it at that particular time. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Mr. President.
Yeah, Councilman Scrivens.
So the word redevelopment, does that mean drilling a new well or servicing the well that's in place?
Servicing the 2 wells that are in place.
So that means a submergible pump or something if,
Yeah, it's basically, it's the cleaning like around the screens of the wells, so, you know, because they get corrosion over time.
Right.
Siltation, correct, right there. So it's basically, it's a cleaning of the well, if you want to think of it in those terms.
thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Any other questions? This time I'll seek a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Branham. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by the Vice President. Further discussion? Seeing none, can I get a roll call, please?
Vice President Dean. Aye. Councilman Scrivens.
Aye.
Councilman Branham.
Aye.
Councilman Urschel.
Aye.
Mayor Mays.
Aye.
President Smith.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Our next item is also an administrative motion approving the schedule of bills tonight in the amount of $201,498. Mr. Duke, anything for us?
I have nothing specifically in reference on the bills.
All right, thank you. At this time, I'll ask for a motion to pay the bills tonight.
So moved.
Moved by the mayor. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Councilman Branham. Any further questions or comments? Questions regarding the schedule of bills tonight? Seeing none other, roll call, please.
Vice President Dean. Aye. Councilman Scrivens.
Aye.
Councilman Branham.
Aye.
Councilman Urschel.
Aye.
Mayor Mays.
Aye.
President Smith.
Aye. Our next item is the appointed officials reports. So tonight, I will start with the finance director, Mr. Duke. Anything else for us tonight?
Thank you, Council President. There was some conversation about residency and audience comments, specifically directed at me, and I'll leave the legal pieces to the law director about whether or not it is legal to require that. But I am most certainly not in breach of my contract. I was very open with council when I was hired as finance director about the status of my residency. I grew up in Xenia on Michigan Drive. Lived here pretty much my entire life. My wife had our first home here in Xenia, lived there for 10 or 15 years. And it so happened that the second house that we ended up purchasing was about, 100 yards from the city limits. Never would you hear me say that I don't want to live here in Xenia. I love Xenia. And so I do take exception to those types of accusations. My kids are in Xenia Community Schools. We didn't run to Beaver Creek so that our kids could go to school there. We're invested in this community. Many of my neighbors are invested in this community, and quite frankly, some people who are very well respected in our community are my neighbors, and I think they would be pretty offended at the notion that you couldn't be invested in this community and living where I live. So, there are some other things I could get into with inconsistencies. I'm not going to go there, but I love this community. I'm invested in this community, and if someone has issues with where my family and I live, then I'm certainly willing to discuss those, but it has nothing to do with how I feel about this community. And that's all I have tonight.
All right, thank you very much. Anyone else have any questions or comments for the finance director tonight? All right, thank you very much. Next, Madam Law Director, I'll have you go next. Thank you.
We've got discussion again tonight on the charter review, so I won't fill you with a lot of comments. I'll wait and we'll talk then.
All right, anyone have anything else for the Law Director at this time? All right, thank you. And Mr. Acting City Manager tonight, Mr. Holloway, what do you have for us tonight?
Yeah, just a couple things. I wanted to update council on our natural gas aggregation for the community. We have locked in a price. It's a one-year fixed price for November 2021 through October 22 of 0.5349 per CCF cubic feet. The price is a fixed price, and it's slightly higher than the previous year's fixed price, our current contract right now, and that's just based on where the market is, but we still expect there to be savings for residents. I do want to remind residents they can opt in and out of our program at any time with no fees, so if they do want to shop around or switch to a variable price based on the market, they're welcome to do so. and residents are welcome to call the city or our Ohio Municipal League. All their contact information is on our website, and we'll post it on Facebook and social medias this week too. So just an update on that. Also, our town square community engagement period is starting to wrap up. Just wanted to let you know we received over 2,000 responses to our online survey, and dozens of people have attended our in-person meetings that have been throughout town over the past couple months. After our next council meeting on the 26th, we do plan to kind of come back in detail giving council an overview of those responses and plans going forward for that project. Also, 271 East 2nd Street, I know several people have asked about that, but that house has been cleaned out and winterized. They removed 20 tons of junk from the house. And there's some things that may be of value, furniture and whatnot, that we do plan to auction off here in the next month or two. We'll probably have a lot of other city surplus items we can throw in there as well, so stay tuned for a citywide auction there. That is all I have.
Thank you. Anyone have any comments or questions for Mr. Holloway tonight? All right, thank you. Thank you for the report on the Xenia Town Square and the responses to that. All right, moving on is reports of boards, commissions, and committees. Our first report is Board of Zoning Appeals. That's chaired by Mayor Mays.
Thank you, sir. It was canceled as nobody filed for a variance.
Thank you. That meeting was canceled due to lack of an agenda. Any questions for BZA, for the mayor? All right, seeing none. Board for Recreational Arts and Cultural Activities, that meeting in August was also canceled. And I do need to announce that there will be no fishing derby this year. The gentleman that usually chaired that and volunteered on that was not able to do that this year. So that will be tabled and possibly brought back next year. So our intentions and hopes for that. Anyone else have questions for BRCA? Yes, Councilman Scrivens.
To your point, no fishing derby, will there be a festival this year in the park?
Okay, that is not a BRCA item. I do not believe the Xenia Chamber is having...
The Xenia Chamber is focusing some efforts on an Oktoberfest. I think at their next meeting, they might have some asks of City Council in terms of allowing alcohol at that festival, stuff like that, which we've seen in the past. So I think they are planning a fall fest. It might be downtown and not at the park. I don't have the details on that in front of me, but...
Okay. Well, we saw like on the calendar, there's something on a Saturday in October.
Harvest on Main.
Yeah, so there's a Harvest on Main, which is just a city event with Dillon and Town Square.
Okay.
That would be a separate event from what the chamber would be doing.
Okay, so you're asking more about community days or the former old-fashioned days?
Yeah.
Right, I believe that.
Yeah, so
is-
that'll probably be a different weekend in the fall.
Right, which is a shame because it's hard to bring something back once it's gone. And that was a great community festival, but again, people have to step up to do that. So unfortunately, that is not going to happen. But yeah, the Oktoberfest, if that can happen, that would be great. All right, thank you very much. I do know BRCA is planning to work with downtown business for the hometown Christmas event, and more information will be available on that soon. So next is Planning and Zoning Commission. That was scheduled for August 5th. Councilman Brandon, do you have anything to report?
We did meet, and we had 3 different cases. One was the PUD change, that's preliminary plat to change the existing Fairmore Heights concept plan, and approve a revised preliminary plat. That was approved with conditions. PZC case 2021, which was -17, was the final plat for Greenway Boulevard, basically creating 7 new lots right across from Aldi's. I did, me and Planning Commission did try to get out of that the engineering partner of what was going there. He did not give us any type of leeway. He did mention restaurants and retail. Our other case was a final plat for Summerbrook. This was the section 4 that's basically extends out to Stevenson Road. This was filed by Arnold Development, and it was approved as well. And that's it.
Thank you. Any questions for Planning and Zoning Chair? All right, thank you very much. Economic Development Advisory Board, Councilman Urschel.
We're still awaiting the, as we did the combination of that board with another committee, we're still awaiting the modification of the ordinances that now describe the new board structure. So, but I did meet with Brent and Steve, and we are going to get the existing EDAB board members together to talk about some proposed objectives and goals of the new board, and that'll probably be happening later this month. So, yeah.
All right, thank you. Any questions regarding EDAB for Councilman Urschel? All right, thank you very much. Next item under council comments is the discussion on Lexington Park. I asked the city clerk to put this on the agenda due to some open discussion that we've had in previous meetings regarding Lexington Park, some of the needs in our park system, not just specifically Lexington Park. So we've had some discussion with the city manager. Mr. Holloway, do you have anything tonight that you want to discuss regarding that, or should we just go ahead and should I summarize what I discussed?
So council, we did a tour out there 2 months ago or so and proposed some possible options and uses, and I know there's been several audience members who have come and spoken about their concerns or interest in amenities there at Lexington Park. I think an option that the city manager would propose is that we reevaluate all of our neighborhood level parks as part of our update to the X plan, which will start over the winter, and that way there's a holistic citywide approach, and then you can kind of decide where you want to put your investments from a citywide perspective. I know there's been other conversations about moving forward with specific amenities, but if council has a desire or interest there, we can discuss what you'd like to do, but I think the X plan process would be a good process moving forward for amenities at Lexington Park.
So I know summer's kind of getting away from us. It's already August. One discussion was possibility. We only have 2 neighborhood night outs scheduled for this year. To actually propose a neighborhood night out at Lexington Park, invite the neighborhood, get a feel for community discussion. Some of the gentlemen that did come to the meeting that expressed some interest said they had basically kind of a contingent of people willing to donate time and resources to help with that project. Councilman Urschel, you have some things that you wanted to add in on this?
No, I think, we've heard multiple times from folks that not only have some concepts they'd like to see, but they'd like to continue that discussion. So, yeah, I agree. If we could get a neighborhood night out scheduled, make sure that the folks in the neighborhood know not only that it's going to be a neighborhood night out, but that we're also going to have some time during that evening to go over some of the proposals, also get some feedback from the community in terms of things that they would like to see. And I think a number of things that folks would like to see are outside of the price range, right? Even some of the things we had proposed before. But at least that would give some community input to put into the broader plan. And then also talk to them about the fact that we're putting together a citywide plan. And obviously this is one of 13 neighborhood parks, right? And so that we could also roll that into that, but continue that discussion. And I think that was a very positive discussion we had with a number of the young men and some of the other folks that came. And I think that would be a good way to continue to facilitate that and get some more feedback from the community there. I mean, obviously we did get the Port Johns out there, and I think folks have appreciated that. Mm-hmm. And so no, I'm in favor of doing that if we could get a neighborhood night out scheduled.
Yeah. So we have 2 neighborhood night outs planned, one for Sterling Green Park and one for Spring Hill Park in August 31st and then September 28th. So I could just work through our PR person, Christine, and she could figure out a date that works with staff and let you know, unless you guys would like to prefer picking a date. Or usually we do a Tuesday evening.
Right.
Works well with staff and other meeting commitments.
And I think the other thing, so the last time the folks in that community saw a presence in force was during our statewide drug abatement 3 days that we had back in June. And I think it would also be really good for us to have a presence like we do at all the neighborhood night outs, to have the fire department out there with the fire engines that everybody can go through in the police department there, talking with folks. And I just think that would be a good connection point with the community, from that perspective, seeing that our last major engagement was during the 3 days in June.
Yep, I can do that if that's what we want.
All right, thank you. All right, we have no executive no executive session scheduled for tonight. Our next item is a work session. I'm just going to go ahead and finish this out tonight. Is the discussion on the ordinance to provide for elections on amendments to the Xenia City Charter. So at this time, I'm going to turn the gavel over to our law director and let you discuss this, please.
I provided council, and it's in your packets, just a breakdown of how a lot of pretty much day one before we even really got into discussion. So I don't think that's really a concern for anyone, and you won't see it in any of this information. Some of the conversations I've had with a few of you individually, I think there is some consensus about maybe Articles 5, which is the legislation. I think there was also hopefully some consensus, Article 10, which is civil service. I don't think Article 10 can be done without 8. I think those two would have to be presented together. So I'm really going to let you guys discuss this evening. Now, one thing and this is the last time I'm going to address it, I would encourage the public, get on Google, type in Ohio Revised Code 9.481, and read it for yourself. What the state statute says is, and I quote, "No political subdivision shall require any of its employees as a condition of employment to reside in any specific area of the state." Doesn't matter if it's in a collective bargaining agreement, a charter, a personnel policy, an ordinance, an employment contract. You can't do it. You cannot make residency a condition of employment. Whether it's right or wrong, I'm not here to argue. It is what it is. It's what the state law says. As to any reference to me personally about not residing in the city, I guess I would just express some confusion. My predecessor doesn't live in the city, never lived in the city, and was never made to live in the city. So I'm not sure why there's a different standard for me than my predecessor, and that's really all I have to say about that. And I'll turn it over to you for discussion.
All right, thank you very much. So, Councilman Urschel, you had expressed some recommendations of Articles 4 and then 10.
5.
4 and 5.
No, 5 and 10.
5 and 10. I'm
5
so
and
sorry.
10.
Okay, 5
Yeah.
and 10. But if I understand right, to work with 10, we need 8.
Right.
Well, and here's why. If you do 5 by itself, there is going to be one reference in 5 to Article 4 that's not going to make any sense. But I would rather, if you want to do Article 5, have that happen than try and chop this up. The problem is, if you did 10, which is the civil service section, one of the things the Charter Review Committee recommended was moving the creation of the commission itself to Article 8, so that it is with the rest of the charter-created boards and commissions. If you do 10, and you don't do 8 at the same time, there won't be anything in the charter about how the Civil Service Commission is to be appointed, how many members. What that means is we would have to follow state law on how a Civil Service Commission is appointed. That means the mayor makes the appointments. There are 3 members. The terms are 6 years instead of 5. And there is a provision in state law that you can't have more than 2 people on that 3-member board that are the same political party. So to get people to serve on that, we would have to request them to tell us their political affiliation, which we don't currently do with any of our boards and commissions, and even council elections themselves are nonpartisan. So that's, you can do 10 without 8. I don't know that I would encourage or suggest that you do it, because then council loses its ability to make the appointment of that 5-member commission.
So the reason I think 5, and we'll talk about 10, and 5 is very important, is right now our charter basically looks at ordinances and resolutions as being synonymous. And part of what that drives us to do is, when we have certain items that are time critical, that are really a resolution, but we have to do the same time phasing, the 2 readings, or the readings and the public hearing, and then the time delay after that, we end up, for a good number of those, ending up doing emergency resolutions, so that we can avoid that time issue. And I think we ought to, one of the things that the Charter Committee did was, they did a very good job of defining what ordinances were in terms of law, and what resolutions were, and also motions, and laying those things out. And I believe if we adopted 5, that would allow us to get away from having to continually come and have emergency resolutions. The other thing, too, is I think that they did a good job of identifying that when emergency resolutions occur, except in some specific conditions, that they have a time limit, too. And so that we have that time then to come back and actually pass an ordinance or a resolution to continue that past a certain period of time. And that's not in the current charter, but that will cause us to, what I would perceive to have some good behavior to really get things back into ordinances or resolutions at that point. So, yeah, I spent some time talking this over with Jeanette, and we talked about, is there any way to decouple 5 from the rest of the articles? Obviously, when the committee was doing this, they proposed a lot of changes in terms of all the articles. And there's one hanging chad of 501B, where it does define, what a procedural motion is, but it makes a reference back to Section 404, which would not exist in this context if we do not proceed with the recommendations of Section 4. And I just, part of the reason I don't think we ought to proceed with 4 or some of the preceding ones, as well as the other ancillary ones, is there's an awful lot of information here to consume. And so I think what we ought to do is limit ourselves to the ones we think will have some real impact and value to us right now. And I think in terms of our operation as a council, the legislation one really cleans up for us, really between the ordinances, resolutions, and motions, and makes that much clearer, and will help us operate as a council. And so I believe we could go to the community and make a recommendation for the changes in Article 5, and be able to explain those well in terms of how it would help us as a council operate. The other reason I was very interested in the Article 10 is that, and once again, this spent some time with that, looking over this, and also looking at some Ohio Supreme Court decisions, and that we as a home rule city have to follow the Ohio Constitution, but we do have the leeway of setting up our own civil service procedures and rules, but the Ohio Supreme Court basically said if you don't do those specifics within your charter, you can't just say in general we have the power and we can go enact those in ordinances. And I know there's a lot of specifics here. Normally I would say you wouldn't want to have those kind of specifics in a charter. And if we could, it would be great to see the proposed 1003 through 1007 actually be ordinances that we would pass. But due to the fact that the Supreme Court said that no, we're not going to allow you to do that, you have to, if you really want to enact those things, they have to be at a charter level. And I spent some times with our human resources folks, and they said that there's a number of things in here that would really help us, especially in this very competitive environment for hiring, and timeliness of that, and to have more flexibility in terms of how we can select candidates, and especially candidates that would have qualifications outside of just a written test. Many times we're not even being allowed, the way we're currently operating, to even consider those types of things. We have to just look at the written test, and I think there's a lot of our positions where I think we need to be able to take a look at people's skill levels and experiences, and just like we do in any other job that we're hiring someone, it would be very odd for us to take any position and say, I'm just going to give you a written test, but I'm not going to look at anything else on your resume at that point. So it gives us some freedom to do some things there, gives us some freedom to do some lateral transfers, and so that's why, especially in this very competitive hiring environment, I think the Section 10 ones will be very helpful for us. As Danette said, the only issue with that is, as the commission set that up, they moved the definition of the Civil Service Commission into Section 8. And nothing wrong with what they did, but if we don't go in then and also put forward the Section 8, and for the most part, Section 8 just does a clarification of the four commissions that already exist and are already called on the charter. It just divides them and talks about their membership terms and organization and powers and duties in a much more structured fashion. So there shouldn't be anything contentious really about Section 8 from that context. So my recommendation, and I'm going to let everybody else talk, I'm just letting you know what my own personal opinion is that we ought to proceed forward with Section 5 in entirety, and Section, because that will help us with our legislative activities. With Section 10 in entirety, because it will help us with the environment of hiring our employees, and then Section 8 because we want to maintain the current structure and composition of our Civil Service Commission. We don't want to go to what's in the ORC, which is a default for us. And it also does it's a cleanup, and it does a very good job of helping clean up the description of the other existing commissions and boards that are called out by the charter. I would recommend that we set back any of the other articles at this time, because even though I think they're beneficial, they'll help us, some of them help us comply with law, we're not complying, or clear up other items, we should potentially consider those at a future date. But I think looking at 5, and I also believe that we ought to have these as 2 separate ballot items, that 5 should be a ballot item because it's severable from everything else, and 10 and 8 should be a combined ballot item because they're severable as well too, and let the citizens vote on those 2 ballot items. Then that would be my recommendation. So I'll stop at this point.
Thank you. Any other comments from council members? Councilman Scrivens, anything?
Under ballot item E, that combines ballot item A and C, I'll be in full support of ballot item E at this point. At the bottom, page 2.
Proposed.
So Tommy, that's looking at all of those articles in its entirety. Yeah, can you just talk about, I'm just curious, help me understand here a little bit too, I just want to understand.
I mean, when you get to parsing out and a piece here and a piece there, pretty soon, you got a bunch of pieces that are not connected. This document connects all of the parts and puts them in a functional level that we can move forward with. We've been grappling with a charter that I can recall for the last 30 years. And, finally we get it into a form now that's really exceptional. I mean, we've synthesized and redeveloped and did everything we could to make this the best possible form of government that we could have, with clear definitions of functions, accountabilities. I just think that I'll be voting for ballot item E as we go out. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, thank you.
Well, one thing, let me jump in here too and remind council, this isn't a one-shot deal. You could choose to present 2 2, 3, 5, 6 articles this election. You could present, until you appoint the next Charter Review Commission and the process begins again, you can split these up over different ballots over different years. You do have the option of doing that. Just so you know, council does have that authority. There's nothing in the Ohio Constitution or state law that prevents that.
Vice President, any comments?
I mean, outside of the kind of amendments I think we made at the last meeting, I don't have an issue of how we present it. I kind of probably be with Scrib about item E. Just go for it all and see what happens. And just to try to get it all. I mean, you're gonna have to pass it or not pass it either way.
Quit kicking the can.
Yeah. But that's my opinion.
All right, thank you. Councilman Bueno, what do you have for tonight?
Echoing Scrivens, at the end of the day, it's up to the voters. The voters can decide to approve it or turn it down, and if they decide to turn it down, we can always come back down at the end of the day. We can come back with items correct after an election until we elect a new charter commission.
All right, thank you, Mayor.
I understand the logic that you're saying, but I think that it takes a lot of work on our part to actively go out and explain if we're going to do it in its entirety. And I don't want to have a mindset of it may pass or fail, we'll just see what happens, unless we're going to be actively involved ourselves in going out and doing that. I mean, obviously I sat on Charter Commission, so I know the work that's gone into this. I understand. I don't want to see it be kicked down the road, but I also want to see us do things well. And so, I mean, for the last couple of weeks, at least in my conversations, and I know we've talked about this a lot. I've been working through Danette's emails quite a bit, and I'm the one who a couple of weeks ago said 5 and 10, because I think that's what we can actively. I think that's something that we can participate all in well, and educate well, and then continue to build on that. I don't have a problem with the rest of it, obviously, because I was a part of it. I just think that we want to make sure that it's not just something we're going to throw out there and say, I hope it passes. I think that doing it in pieces allows us the opportunity to really discuss it thoroughly and discuss it well. Now, the addition of 8 makes sense. I hadn't worked through that personally yet. I'd still, based on my thoughts from last time, was still in favor of 5 and 10, because I think that's what makes sense right now. So I haven't really changed my mind on that. I understand fully what you're saying. I'm not looking to kick it down the road further. I just want to make sure that we're not being passive, and I feel like it feels like if we do the whole thing, that feels very passive. I feel like we can actively work through 5 and 10. I don't have a problem with adding in 8, because that is it's just minor. So that's my opinion. That's how I felt last time. I don't feel like I've changed that.
Okay, I guess, this is our city charter, right? This is our constitution. And for the most part, I don't have any problems with any of the recommendations in here, but it is difficult to consume all this. It just is. And for the normal resident out there, I know we've got some folks said, man, I live, eat, and breathe the city charter, right? It's up there, next to, something else, by my bedside. I'm reading it every night. Well, that's not 99.9% of the folks in the city. And if we're asking them, the folks in our city, to do a good job on this, right? It's one thing to say, yeah, I want you to do a good job, and that's going to be about 60 hours worth of work, if you're really going to be honest about it, to consume all this. And I get it for those of you guys who were on the Charter Commission and lived this for 2 years and did all that, but the rest of us didn't do that. And I'm just being honest, okay? I may not be the sharpest tack in the box, but I tried really hard as we were going through this with the presentation with them, to follow all the changes. And because things were moving back and forth between different sections and all those kind of things, it's not that it's not good, but it takes a lot of work to stand up here, to stand and say, yes, I understand, and when I go to vote yes, it's because I understand this, not that I'm just trusting somebody who's told me that this is good stuff. And I think this gets back to Sarah's point. I don't want us going out and saying, God love her, Nancy Pelosi, we'll figure out what it is after we vote on it, right? I don't want us going out and saying, trust us, it's good stuff, and trying to sell it on that, because what we're really presenting to you is too much for you to consume. And then again, I think that there are a lot of pieces of this that are really going to help us operate well, and I'd hate to see us put everything out there and you have all shot down, okay, because people say, didn't get it, don't understand it, I'm not just going to trust that you said this is a good thing. And then we got to figure out when we're going to pick the pieces back up again at that point. So I'd rather we plan to do a couple of components that are very critical for us, that we can understand and we can defend, and then we can come back next May for another chunk if we want to, and I understand the whole context of the special elections. We can evaluate what else is going to be on the election at that point, whether it's financially feasible for us or not, the same kind of thing for the November ballot as well too. And even at that point, we may put these smaller pieces out, and the community may say no. We may just do that as well too. And I'll tell you, if we get some small pieces and the community says no, then we have to come back and reflect on that as well too. But I think these 5 as a standalone and 8 and 10 as a standalone are some things that and we're going to have to do this, gang, as a council, okay? This isn't the city staff's responsibility. This is us as the city council recommending this to the public. And it can't just be, well, I recommend this to you, and I'm going to get real passive, and I'm going to just observe and see what you do with this, right? Okay, no, we're actually going to have to go out and say, I'm making this recommendation, and this is why. And we should have good conversations with people and be able to engage with them, right? And if people are, well, what's wrong with the way you do legislation right now, right? And why do you care whether you do emergency resolutions or not, right? What's up with the civil service, thing, and why can't we just live with what's in the ORC, and why do we have to have some additional, flexibility with that? We should be able to describe that. But I think, the interaction with the charter review team, they felt very strongly about those things. Matter of fact, they kind of came back to us and said these are the 2 really, most critical articles in terms of operation. That was from their perspective. And as I've talked to the staff, they've concurred with that. And at least my own research that I've done, and I get it, I'm limited in terms of my ability to do that. That seems to concur with it as well too. And I feel like doing those 2 things, I can go out and do a good job of explaining that. But I'm just telling you, if we decide to do the whole thing, I'm going to have to tell somebody, hey, give me, 3 or 4 evenings, okay, and I can explain to you why you need to do this. And I don't think that's a wise way to move forward.
All right, thank you. So we have one more meeting. Our plan is to...
I would
present this.
need to know tonight what you want to do so that I can prepare the ordinance for you to have it. You will have to act on it at your next meeting. We have to have it to the Board of Elections by September 3rd. Of course, if council does choose to present any, I will send them an advance copy the next day that they can get started on it. But council would have to take action at the next meeting. So the hope tonight was that you would give me direction on what you want to do, that I can prepare the ordinance for you for the next meeting.
Do you need that in the form of a motion, or do you need just a verbal consent?
Just direction, because we have nothing formal.
Okay.
Just if there's a consensus among you that I know that's what you want.
And any way we go at that next meeting, it will require 5 of us
Yes.
to consent.
Yes,
to-
even if, you will have to do it as an emergency ordinance, but even if it had been a regular ordinance presented through the process under the Ohio Constitution, it still takes 5.
5 of us, right.
Okay.
So either way, it's a vote of 5.
All right, so do you want to make a motion?
That's an
Or we don't need a motion? Do we need to...
So Danette, you did prepare proposed
All of the 5, 8, and 10.
set of documents for us, right? And that included the entirety?
What I originally gave you just included everything.
Right.
And the draft I gave you did more for anything, that it was all in one place and you could see if it was Article 1, this is the language that would appear on the ballot.
Right, right.
We also prepared as an attachment to that exhibit, the Board of Elections, you don't have to have the full charter amendment with the strikeouts and the additions on the ballot. You may use a description, but the Board of Elections is required then to have posted the actual language at each of the polling places.
Right.
So we prepared Exhibit A, and whatever you choose to do, that will be the full language. That, and of course, we'll put that on the website that the public can read. Here's what's being struck out, here's what's being moved,
Right.
here's what's being added.
Right.
And we did try and color code that, hopefully to make it a little easier for the public to understand.
Right.
I've worked at cities where they've done it both ways. They've presented everything at once. Franklin, the first time they did a charter review, we had a ton of items like this, and they split them out over a couple elections. We're going to do this many of this and this. So it's really up to you how you want to do it.
Well, I would like to see us put together at least a package for presenting Article 5 as a standalone and Articles 8 and 10 as a standalone for consideration by the community. That would be my preference. I'm just going to put that out there. And I think at least we can have you prepare that. Now, obviously, we don't have a full council here tonight either, right, as well. But I guess the only other thing I'll say is I from a conscience perspective, I don't see myself supporting us putting this whole, I could not vote for this whole document. And Tommy, I love all the work you guys did, but even the one that dropped a couple of other ones, it's just so much stuff there. And trying to go to our community and say, here, either just vote on it because somebody told you it's good, or actually try and consume it. It's just a lot of stuff. And not that it's not bad, I'm not saying it's bad stuff. It's just that expectation I don't think is realistic. And what I don't want to see is our folks in the community saying, I didn't have time to consume any of it, so I'm just going to have to vote one way or the other without doing that. And that's not a good way for us to be interacting with the citizens. So.
Right, I do agree. I think if I don't understand something, then I don't want anything to do with it. But I might be wrong, but I do like the idea of what we present to the voters is separated, rather than it's not an all or nothing, but it's presented in different sections.
You can always present articles either as one ballot item, or you can split them up, and you can have more than one article on a single ballot item. So since 10 and 8, Articles 10 and 8 really interplay, I would suggest that's done at one ballot item.
Right.
You could then either include 5 or do 5 as a separate, but I would definitely do 8 and 10 together.
Well,
Definitely recommend that.
if you're going to do that, I mean, you could potentially do, 5 and then 10 and 8 and then have the others on a separate issue as well. And then, it really is up to, the voters on whether they want to pass basically what some of the council's suggesting in ballot item E, or, what others are suggesting in just 5, 8, and 10. And so if you separate them, you may get it all, or you may just get a couple.
Okay. For me tonight, I would like to do what we talked about I'd like 5 to be a ballot item and 8 and 10. That would be my preference. I feel like we can actively educate. I feel like we can actively put that out there. That's where I'd like to start.
Councilman Scrivens.
Okay, she's entitled to it.
Well, I'm just trying to give her direction. So I'm looking for a yes or a no, I guess. I know it's not an emotion, but I'm asking for support in that, and let's give her direction.
Others? Councilman Brown? We know where we're at.
Council could choose to do just those three, if that's the consensus, and we could then come back to you before the next election and say, okay, which of the remaining of these would you like to consider now? And you can put them on like that if you think it's easier for the public to digest. I mean, that was kind of, if you sit and read the ordinance, and I did try and make, I mean, this is a 9-page ordinance, and that's almost all ballot language, and that's what the voters are going to get. If we broke it down, as Mr. Duke recommended, broke it down into different sections, then it would be a shorter individual item, but that's still, it would be a big ballot.
Right.
It's, the charter hasn't been updated in 23 years. A lot of what the Charter Review Commission did really wasn't changes, it was moving, it was reorganizing, trying to put things in the correct places where currently they're kind of scattered. So that did end up causing a lot of interplay between the different sections because of that reorganization, but it was substantial.
I get the benefit for 5 and the benefit for 10, and the reason we have to do 8 with that. I guess I haven't heard from anyone else yet, other than these are cleanup things that need to happen, that things that are happening, the other articles are that necessary that they need to go on the ballot this November. Well, what the hurt would be if we did not include those, or what are we operating under that's causing us a problem today that we desperately need to get those other articles on the ballot today. And as I've talked to staff and I've looked at some other things, I think I can understand that, defend that for 5 and 10, and 8's a cleanup that has to go with it so that we maintain our current civil service commission structure. But I can't see the urgency for the other ones, and that to me is the item, because I don't want to lose those areas that are really critical because of the size and composition there.
All right, for the sake of time, I would like to also move towards 5, 8, and 10, unless someone can persuade me to not take away all of it.
Okay, assuming we pass 5, 8, and 10, we put those up. I don't know when we get the rest of these, because it's still a lot to go through. Or we're going to have a special election like every year and just do 3 articles, or
we can do some in May, we can do some in November. I mean, we can do that until we get the next commission. Or we can also decide that some of them we're just going to leave and let the next commission, work on that point.
Yeah, I see that. But I mean, most of these are tied to each other, so we'd probably have to do a lot of them if we did some of them.
Well, and I haven't gone through all the connective tissue on the rest of them. That's why I spent a lot of time on and talking to that and doing that within 5 and 10, right? And I think we felt like there are a few hanging chads off of those, but they're nothing that would cause us from not want to move forward on those.
Yeah, I have no issue with 5, 8, and 10. It's just I don't know where in the future then we get the rest of it.
Well, like I said, we can bring any other sections that we want to at any future election until we establish a new commission. So we know there's going to be an election next May. We know there's going to be another election next November. We have potential for having to pay fees for that. We can take a look and see what our portion of that, what else is going to be on the ballot. If we think that's going to be too expensive, then we can do that. But I don't. If there's something that's very urgent that's at the same level of urgency as 5 and 10, then let's get it out on the table and understand that, right? But as we've had our discussions, I didn't hear that.
The urgency would be, it's taken 21 years or however long to revise and extend it, revise and then update it. So you want to stay in the past operating on 1.0, or you want to move forward and operate on 5 or 6.0. I mean, it's your choice. I personally think that the voters are a lot smarter than we tag them to be. These people know how to read, write, add, subtract, multiply, divide, integrate, differentiate, interpolate, extrapolate. They know what they're doing. And I have faith, my faith in the voters is full and is complete. If we decide that we're promoting a charter and we step out unison and we instruct them on what provisions that are going to be provided for them to help them, I think they'll go for it. hook, line, and sinker, because they know it's who we are. The charter is who we are. So are we going to be a piecemeal people, or are we going to be a whole meal people? I'm for the whole enchilada. Give me liberty or give me death.
All right, Councilman Brandon, do you have anything else?
I just think, I know Mayor Mays had brought this up previously. I just think this should have been assessed early on, and, kind of like Councilman Dean and I, we eliminated the articles that we didn't necessarily agree with right away, and we were kind of good with the rest of it, leaving it up to the voters. I just think that we better just go ahead and get it taken care of now, and
If we fail, we fail.
yeah, let the voters decide. Who knows? Who says that 5,
failed
10,
before.
who knows 5 and 10 and 8, they could fail come November as well. We don't know.
Got it. I'm just telling you, if you guys are saying you're going to be for this, and I'll be voting against that, but if it passes, then I'm just encouraging you. Are you guys really going to be going out and spending the time?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well,
This is my job, promoting the Xenia city.
I'm with you, Tommy.
It's like my job is promoting the city of Xenia.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, I'm going to go out and work hard on that too, but taking a document this thick versus a couple of pages is a lot different. It just is.
All right, so-
And I'll just tell you, listen, I've lived in the city for 34 years, and I've been through a lot of, just as a citizen, and had a lot of times where I show up at the polling booth, and there's charter amendments and stuff, okay? And the people, I understand what you're saying, people are busy, right? People have families, people got stuff going on, and we want to capture their attention, capture it for the thing that's really important, okay? And that's my biggest concern with this, is you overwhelm them, then the next response is, okay, I'm going to vote no, because I can't consume this,
So, Madam Law Director, can we present this entirety, but present 8 and 10 separate?
Do it in its entirety, but present it as separate ballot
8 and 10
items.
as separate ballot items.
Yeah.
about 5.
You could break out ballot items. That's kind of what I was sitting here trying to figure. I think there's some, really you could present, if you presented 4, I think 9 and 13 have to be on there, 13, 14, and 15. That could be one ballot item. 6, 7, 16 could be one ballot item. 1, 2, and 3, the changes made to those 3 sections were so small. If those got left off, it's really up to you as council, but those 3 could be combined into one. So they could be split into separate items. I don't think you'd want to make them individual items, because that could end up causing a conflict if this article passes and this article doesn't, and something got moved from here to there, or didn't get moved, and then you've got it in 2 places and it conflicts. So I think some of them would have to go together as an item. Do they all have to go on as one item? No. They can if that's what council wants, or we can split them up into separate items.
How would you break it out? Give me those sections again.
And just sitting here scribbling as you were talking. 1, 2, and 3, I think, as I said, could be a ballot item. Nothing there is substantial. Those could even be left off, and I don't think that's anything. The changes there were very small. If 5 could be done on its own, I think 8 and 10 have to be done together. If 4 is presented, that's city council. I think that would have to be presented with 9, which is finance. It'd have to be presented with 13, which is general provisions. What happened with 13 was that a lot of the little small piecemeal in 14 and 15, 14 and 15 are like 1 or 2 sentences each. Most of that was moved into 13, so I think you would want to put 14 and 15. So you could do 5 by itself, 8 and 10. I think 4, 9, 13, 14, and 15 could be one item. 6, 7, and 16 could go together as one item. I'm trying to figure out if I missed any. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Check out 1, 2, and 3. She's got
You already pulled
11 and
11 and 12. We're not doing 11 and 12. There was no interest in that. So that leaves 13, 14, 15, 16, which would be all of them.
So
So
potentially
that
5
would, if
items.
you did it all as one, that would be 4, let me make sure I didn't miss any. That would be 4 ballot items, 5, 8 and 10 as one, 4, 9, 13, 14, and 15 as one, 6, 7, and 16 as one. Council's already made it pretty clear they don't
Struck
support
11 and 12.
11, which is the election article. That's already been pulled out of everything. With 11 goes 12, so both of those would stay out. That's why those two aren't appearing. But that would give you 4 ballot items.
I'm counting 5.
8, and
I'm
10.
counting 5.
I'm counting 5.
I'm sorry?
You said 4, I'm counting 5. 1, 2, and 3, 5 standing alone, 8 and 10.
1, 2, and 3, if you wanted to do them, those are very small.
It's
If you
cosmetic,
wanted
but
to
still,
leave
it
those
needs to be
off.
done. So that's 5 items.
So, yeah, that, if you include 1, 2, and 3, that would be 5 ballot items.
Yeah, we could put 1, 2, and 3 as one of the other ones, since they're real minor, just cosmetic.
What if we combined 8, 5, 10 into 1, 1, 2, and 3 into the other ones? We could probably have 3.
Just have 3 ballot items.
Yeah. Let's do that.
1, 2, and 3, 5, 8, and 10.
My whole thing with it is the charter's been piecemealed together year after year after year after year, and I feel like if we just pass 3 of them, which there's no telling if we could pass any, to be honest,
Right.
but if we only get 3, we're still just doing another piecemeal, and we used to say that it just doesn't keep getting piecemealed together, and it never really becomes a full final document.
Well, I mean, we're going to review this again later on, too, so there's going to be other recommendations. The state law is going to change, there's going to be ripple effects into us. I mean, so there's never any end game here, potentially.
No, no.
Right. But,
It's a living document.
Right.
And this time it has to morph into the 21st century.
sure.
So you think we can get it in
I think if we do it in 3
Can we get it in 3
separate ballot measures.
measures?
Right, 1, 2, and 3, 5, 8,
I don't
and
think 1, 2,
10.
and 3 should be separate. Put
1, 2,
that
and
with something else.
3, 5,
5, 8, and 10.
8,
4, 9, 13, 14, and 15.
No, Tommy, I think 5, 8, and 10 could be one. 4, 9, 13, 14, 15 could be another, and you could put 1, 2, 3 with 6, 7, 16,
Yeah.
just to make that.
Okay.
Right, and then that would be 3.
You'd want 5, 8, and 10 as one?
Yep.
Okay, and then 4, 9, 13, 14, 15, those I think would have to be grouped together.
Right.
And then 6, 7, and 16 could be grouped together.
And could we add the 1, 2, and 3 with that? With the 6, 7, and 16, just so there'd be 3.
So that's it.
I just do 1, 2, and 3 as its own item. I would recommend that.
Right, it's
Makes a
easier.
little bit of a shorter
Right.
ballot for
All right,
the
do that.
voters to read.
All right, so we're going to have 4.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, I've got
All right.
1, 2, and 3 is one item, 5, 8, and 10 is one item, 4, 9, 13, 14, and 15 as one item, and 6, 7, and 16 as one item.
Right, and 11 and 12 is struck out.
Thank you. Now you can see why you took charter review 2
Yeah,
years.
that is 11 and 12 out. The next Charter Review Commission can
They can wrestle
readdress
with that.
the election article, look at what this Charter Commission did, and then decide for themselves
All right,
what
thank
they
you.
want to do.
Just a real quick question for clarification. These ones that we're doing, that we're going to present to the ballot, it doesn't include the stuff that we removed from last meeting, correct?
Right, 11 and 12.
Oh,
The-
yeah,
the
it would
articles, but also
still
the
be,
other
and all the changes you made at the last meeting, and part of the reason I sent this out to you guys again, and again, it was just to keep it all together, you'll see that all those changes that we discussed were already in there. This is basically just about how you would take this and split it up into separate items. But yeah, it would be the language
I just-
you
yeah,
guys
so
already,
just
yes,
wanted to make sure.
absolutely.
All right, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for your feedback. Before we adjourn, we're going to do a roundtable with audience comments, and I'll start first with Councilman Scrivens.
Thank you, Mr. President. Not a whole lot, but I found out there are 2 park streets in Xenia. There's one Park Street off of Raider Street, and there's one Park Street off of Dayton Avenue. So my suggestion is maybe we can make it Park Way or Park View or Park Place, but to have two Park Streets, Mr. City Planner should take a serious look at that.
Thank you.
And with that, Mr. President, I yield back. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Councilman Branham.
Yeah, I just want to address a couple of Mr. Morris's concerns. I hear you loud and clear, and I appreciate the pictures. I look forward to looking at those after the council meeting's over. I am the chair of Planning and Zoning Commission. It, of course, is all members of the community that's appointed to that. I am a non-voting member. I did bring up just to the individuals that are on Planning and Zoning, because we did have a previous development that they decided to adjust the minimum square footage of the house, and I did bring up to them and just ask, hey, do you guys want to do the same for this one like you did the other one? They had said no, because the fact that the houses around that was not the same size as what the, I'm drawing a blank on the development now, as
The existing construction?
the existing construction there on Kinsey Avenue, or Kinsey Road. So they also, so they were very aware of that situation, because I did ask them that. And I do, just for your awareness, I do have an opening on Planning and Zoning Commission currently, so if you are interested, I'd be more than welcome to hear from you and take your information and potentially get you appointed to that position as well. So.
See, here's my thing, you're talking about Kinsey Road down at the far end past the high school.
Yes, sir.
That's completely different than what I'm talking about. In fact, in my opinion, and my experience with that, and at one time that was a flood zone. So for me personally, that has no bearance on what I'm talking about as far as this new plat goes.
Okay. Let's have a conversation after.
You're on the northwest side of the city, right? Right.
He's on the Hollywood side of Kansas.
Right.
No, I know that. I'm just.
All right. Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Councilman Urschel.
Yeah, I just want to commend Home Church. They partnered with the schools and with the Career Center, and they're going to be giving a shoe giveaway from 2 to 5 this Saturday. They've got a warehouse full of Nike shoes that they've purchased, and they're inviting the community to come out, so bring your kids out. They will check your size right there, and we'll check your size and order them. They're going to have them right there. Their church is there on Home Avenue. Kudos to the folks over at the Career Center. They're going to use that as a spillover parking by census. We're going to have a lot of folks there, and so if the parking lot is full there on Home Avenue, you can go to the Career Center and get a shuttle bus over to do that. But that should be a great time, especially with school starting this next week to do that. I've been attending the school board meetings, and it's been good to hear what's going on with the school. I'll just say kudos to the school board. When they did their initial planning, and to the treasurer, when they did the initial planning for the middle school, they assumed a fairly high interest rate, and what they're going to be able to achieve right now is a much lower interest rate. So they were in discussions of potentially reducing some of the millage, or collecting the existing millage and cutting off a significant number of years on the payback of the bonds. So that's all good news. They're also constrained, though. They can't use that additional funding to expand the middle school. So this will basically just be a savings over what had been advertised. So that's a great thing. We also were able to communicate with them the developments that are occurring both on the south side of town and the north side of town. And they were very interested in that, because they're going through a bond rating review right now, and the fact that it looks like we're going to have around 500 homes being built here in the next couple of years in the city was very advantageous then for their bond rating. So we did some coordination with them on that. Just some things that have just troubled me lately about folks in our community and city that are devaluating each other's worth and putting labels on each other, and then making a decision that once I put a label on you, I have the right to do things I normally wouldn't do with anybody else. And I just want to give you some examples of that. We saw that with the folks at the Democrat headquarters. once again, I don't say that, Tommy, you know where I stand on a lot of things. I don't necessarily agree with a lot of positions, but people should have the right to speak and not be threatened, and at that point. And so I know our police force is pursuing that. I stopped by and looked at that, where the bricks were thrown through, where the bullet holes were in their door, and those things should not be happening in our community. Once again, if you allow yourself to label somebody, then you say, now I'm free to have behavior that's reprehensible, okay? So, on the flip side, we saw the same thing when we sent our police and sheriffs out in June. And these are folks that they didn't go out and make decisions on their own where they're going to go in town. We told them, we want you to go where there's drug activity, okay? Because that's what's reprehensible. It's not our police. Our police are not reprehensible. It's the drug dealers that are reprehensible, okay? And I just would encourage our community. I watched a video of our sheriffs that took verbal abuse for over an hour. And it was obscenities and everything else that was going on there. And that is wrong. But once again, if you label our law enforcement officials and you say, once I've labeled you, now I can treat you any way I want to, okay? That's a slippery slope that we can't be going down. And then on a third area, we've had some, and I had some discussions with the law director about this. I've learned that there's obscenity, profanity, and vulgarity, and there's different definitions for each of those things, but there are some signs being put up that I would label as obscene within our community. And once again, the Supreme Court, with another test from 1973, has given us a description of what obscenity is. About two of the three criteria are community standards, where the other one is whether it's art. Let me tell you, the obscenities being put up has nothing to do with art, so I don't think it passes that test. What I'm concerned about is if we allow obscenities to be put out in our community, and I've had a lot of folks give feedback, so this has nothing to do with a political position. They're fond of people voicing that, but they want to have their grandchildren and their kids having to drive down the street and see this every day, and we shouldn't do that. I'm concerned that if we allow this to remain, that now becomes the new community standard. And once that standard is established, we can't go back on that. So when we get our law enforcement committee together here next month, that's one of the areas that I want to talk with you and the police chief on as well too. I know we have state obscenity laws. We have definitions there. What obscenity is that goes with the Miller test is concurrent with that. And I want us to see us pursue that. But once again, once you devalue somebody, then you say, I can start being obscene because it's okay because I've devalued you. So all of those are areas. I know Ms. Dean talked to us about devaluating unborn children, right? And once you do that, then I now have the right to do things to them that I wouldn't normally do to my kids that I would see. All of these are examples of things that we need to be very careful when we start stepping on those areas, because it allows us to justify activities that I would just say are reprehensible. So I'm hoping that we can continue to have good conversations, and we may not agree on everything, but we can do it in a way that doesn't devalue each other from that perspective. That's all I got for tonight.
All right, thank you. Mayor Mace.
Thank you. Had a couple of good appointments this week. On the 23rd, met with a gentleman from the alumni group out at he is a part of the leadership team from the alumni group out at the OVCH, not OVCH anymore, but the alumni group that meets yearly, and he wanted to do a follow-up meeting after I had a chance to speak to their group, and he's got some really great ideas for Xenia and ways to continue their work there, and we're excited to see the partnership with AIA and the renovation of the Collier Chapel. So a lot of good things happening there, and with that in mind, had a meeting with a new person who is part of Athletes in Action on the 27th, and had a chance to speak with her. She's going to be working specifically within the community and being a liaison within, hopefully, our schools, and working with the kids, promoting some of the things that Athletes in Action is doing with the kids here in Xenia. She's got a real passion for being in Xenia and being in the community. AIA is an international organization. They do a lot with colleges and pro sports, but it's exciting to see them taking an interest here in their backyard. So I wanted to mention her, Amanda Dunaway. Dee Millay, if I'm saying that correctly. I always say it wrong. Yeah. They were here on the 28th. great group of young men, ages 12 to 21. They did a government service day, came for a couple hours, did a tour of the fire station, the police station. Just had a really good time with them, and it's neat to see these, and it really was people of all ages. That wasn't a bird. These young men of all ages coming together. It was neat to see some young men in their early 20s working with the young ones and trying to just talk about leadership and character and what it means to serve your community. So it was a great chance to spend that time with them. On July 25th, Right Place Apartments, they celebrated their 13th anniversary for their Vesper services. J. Fairbanks Leach and a group of people there have been doing Vesper services every week for 13 years. And it's just really neat to see, even through COVID, they figured out a way to do a phone-in conference call, and people of all senior ages doing that and sharing with each other. And on the 25th, I sat on that call. It was almost 2 hours of hearing people from all over the community who have been a part of their services, who have spoke at their services, who have sang, who have just done a lot, and hearing the encouragement and all different backgrounds. And it was just, I really wanted to just congratulate them and the effort that they've put into that. So the last thing I wanted to mention, on August 24th, the Xenia Community School Foundation is having a Taste of Italy night. It's from 6 to 8 at Devil Winds. It's being catered by Nick's. $30. It gets you the meal, 2 drinks, and the big thing that I keep hearing, they said there's going to be no speaker. It's just a fundraiser, so come have fun. Buy your ticket. You can get your tickets through the Chamber of Commerce, and that is for the Xenia Community School Foundation. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you very much, Vice President Dean.
I don't have a whole lot. I don't know, maybe we could change one of those parks to Tom Scriven's Way or something. If you find some more, we could put somebody else's name. But other than that, yeah, I don't really have anything else to say.
Thank you very much. Just a reminder, school is in session starting next week. Starting Tuesday. So see those buses out, please stop and look out for the kids. They'll be excited. They'll be running to the buses, and kids like to kind of dart traffic. So keep those kids in mind, and prayers for them. Everything runs very smoothly. I'd like to thank those that are watching tonight, and we'll see you at our next meeting on August 26th. Thank you very much. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by the mayor.
I'll second.
Seconded by the vice president. Roll call, please.
Vice President Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Scrivens?
Aye.
Councilman Bergman?
Aye.
Councilman Urschel?
Aye.
Mayor Mays?
Aye.
President Smith?
Aye.
Motion carries.